A place that can kill you just because you're poor, that's Alaska in the winter. When temperatures drop to -40°F, if you don't have a home, a bed, or sometimes even a chance to survive. If you believe these stories deserve to be heard, hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our travel documentaries that explore countries through the most honest and human lens. Now, join me on a journey into the snow and shadows of Alaska. In the bone-chilling cold of an Alaskan winter, thousands of people are struggling to survive each day. In Anchorage alone, according to a 2023 report by the Coalition to End Homelessness, there are over 3,150 people experiencing homelessness, a number unprecedented in the city's history. Of those, nearly 400 are living completely outdoors in conditions unfit for survival. And this is no longer just a story about poverty, it's a story about life and death. One heartbreaking example is the death of Richard R., age 64, who was found in a snow-covered tent near a wooded area just a few kilometers from the busy tourist streets downtown. He froze to death when nighttime temperatures dropped to -38°C. There were no signs of violence. No drugs. Just the absolute silence of the cold. The Brother Francis shelter has only 240 beds. And in the winter, those beds are always full. People start lining up as early as 3 p.m., hoping to get a spot for the night. Those who arrive too late end up sleeping in tents, under awnings, or in old cars without heat. In Alaska's brutal cold, just one night without enough insulation can lead to frostbite, or worse, death. The cost of living in Alaska adds even more pressure. According to Alaska Economic Trends, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Anchorage is projected to reach $1,260 per month in 2025. Meanwhile, the average wage for low-income workers is around $14 to $16 an hour. A gallon of milk can cost up to $5. These numbers don't just push poor people to the edge, they keep them there. It's one of the harsh truths about this country that few ever see when visiting through glossy travel promos. One of the most striking aspects of Alaska's crisis is the situation facing Native Alaskans. According to the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, Native Alaskans make up only 15% of the population, yet account for 42% of the homeless population. They are the victims of a deeply painful history, forced relocation from ancestral lands, generations of mandatory boarding schools, and a lack of access to basic healthcare and education. When they leave their rural villages for the city in search of jobs or medical care, they often find themselves trapped in a cycle of poverty, without housing, without work, and without community. It's the hidden side of culture that no documentary about homelessness should ignore. Mental health and addiction are another dark and often overlooked part of the crisis. According to the CDC, Alaska had the highest alcohol-related death rate in the entire U.S. -78.4 per 100,000 people in 2022. People experiencing homelessness are especially vulnerable to severe depression and PTSD, particularly military veterans, who make up 10.5% of Alaska's adult population. But access to treatment is rare due to remote locations, limited funding, and bureaucratic barriers. Someone like Greg, a veteran who served in Iraq, once told us, "I'd rather be fighting in a desert at 120 degrees than sleeping on the streets here. At least over there, I had my brothers. Here, it's just cold and darkness." While larger systems remain paralyzed, it's the smaller communities that are starting to speak up. This is the moment when core human and social values must be reignited: compassion, solidarity, and the strength of reason to overcome stigma and see homeless individuals not as burdens, but as people in need of a chance to reclaim their lives. Initiatives like Housing First in Anchorage, which provides housing even to those still struggling with alcohol addiction, have shown promising results: a 30% drop in emergency room visits and a 20% reduction in relapse rates within just 12 months. In Fairbanks, tiny home villages built through community funding and volunteer labor offer not only shelter but privacy and dignity. These are the kinds of local solutions that international travel documentaries increasingly seek out to highlight what real, grassroots change looks like. It's not just about housing. It's about restoring hope. It's a clear reflection of human dignity, when we treat one another with respect and believe that everyone deserves a second chance. It's the spark in Emily's eyes, a 19-year-old girl who fled an abusive home and spent 2 years on the streets before finally finding a safe place to call home. If you've made it this far, I invite you to hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue bringing you travel documentaries about homelessness and other raw, honest sides of society. We can't change everything in one video, but we can start by making these stories no longer invisible. Let's explore countries through a more human lens, because sometimes, the truth isn't found where you book your next tour, but where you've never dared to truly look. In our travel documentaries exploring different countries, we don't just showcase beautiful landscapes or local cuisine. We tell stories about people, lives struggling to survive each and every day. And Alaska, with all its harshness, is also home to warm hearts quietly and bravely lighting up their communities. Alaska, a land of breathtaking nature that is also a test of survival, is sounding the alarm on a homelessness crisis we can no longer ignore. Not because there's a lack of funding, but because of how we prioritize, organize, and care for the most vulnerable among us. No one is truly safe if the system continues to break down. Homelessness isn't a personal failure, it's the result of systemic failures, from unfair housing policies and lack of healthcare access to the quiet discrimination that still exists in cities we think of as free. But every crisis is also a chance, if we're brave enough to face the truth and take action together. That's why travel documentaries like this one aren't just journeys to explore different countries, they're invitations to open your heart. We don't tell these stories to spark pity, but to cultivate understanding. Through raw visuals and a quiet yet haunting narration, we want viewers to ask themselves, what if you woke up tomorrow with no place to call home? Responsible travel isn't about how many photos you take, it's about how deeply you understand a place, in both its light and its darkness. Alaska has snow and northern lights, yes, but it also has freezing nights spent under doorways, and tears that no one sees. And it's not just Alaska, this crisis exists in every country, from North Carolina to California, from the US to Europe and Asia. So the question is, what will we, you and I, do? Donate, if you can. Volunteer, if you have the time. And if not, then share, speak up, and push for change within your own community. Because real change doesn't come from fleeting sympathy, it comes from long-term commitment, and the belief that every human being deserves a fair chance at a dignified life. And the final question I leave you with isn't meant to end this story, but to carry it with you. Are we ready to face the truth and take action, or will we keep looking the other way? If you believe that no one is born to be forgotten, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video as a simple yet deeply human act, because a city isn't defined by its skyscrapers, but by how it treats those without a roof over their heads. And who knows, after watching this video, you might see that Alaska isn't just snow and ice, but a place where compassion can bloom even in the heart of a freezing winter.